Well, I know it's hard to believe, but this is the last attendance post that I will do for this class. And I'd like to start with a thank you because I know this class is a challenge for not only the subject, the amount of content we cover, but of course, in this case, the timeline. This was an idea that a couple of us came up with trying this because we thought some students might want that intense short-term experience, but my experience now, my learning from this is, nah, most students do not. So just know that if this was painful, it was not intended to be that. But I will not, I've asked my boss to never schedule it like this again, and he agreed, which is great. So I know the timeline created challenges on top of the already a course content that has a lot. And the other thing I'd like to say to you is that sometimes students think a compressed course means less content, and that's just not true. This is the same content I covered when I taught it in the 18-week class last time. So just know that it's just a lot of content in a short amount of time. And when you're up for that, great. And when you're trying to juggle so many things in your life, it can often create more challenge than most of us can be up to. So here's the other thing is I've been talking about this, like the recommendation I have for you, and this is why this morning when I graded week 8 Learn Together, where I actually gave you an opportunity to start on Dev 1. I think Hugo was about the only one who got it done. I'm going to leave this open, and here's why. I'm going to leave it open until next Thursday, which is the final day for this class, because it's the last night I do code reviews, is because you're going to do this work anyway. You might as well get credit for it. And the ideas of starting, at least creating 2 of the required endpoints for this Dev 0 is good because it gets you thinking about it. And, one of the most challenging things I've found about doing it for myself, because that's the other thing I want you to know is I don't do anything. I don't ask you to do anything I don't do myself. And this semester I came up with a new concept to implement, and it stretched to me as far as trying to think about how I would store the data and how I would then, because I have a sender and a receiver on my email system, and how would I get that receiver if I'm logged in as a sender. So it was good. And it did require some time just to sit and think about that. And then to figure out, based on the way Andrew showed us with the owner how to do that. But anyway, I go over that here in Dev 1 video. I definitely recommend you check that out just to give you an overview of what that requirements are. And remember, this is our last Develop It. We only had 2. They were worth 50% of this class. So this last one is worth 25% of your overall grade. If you didn't do well in the first one, you can still do well in this one. And if you do better on the second one, I'll take that score and place it onto the first one. Okay, so keep that in mind. The other thing is on Canvas, remember, and I'm not going to show it here, but remember when you're on Canvas and you're going to grade, you can actually go over and do the what if scenario. And what that means is you can place a grade into an item or a series of items and say, what if I did this late work and I got this on the last Develop It? What would my grade be? And so use that feature, because if you're emailing me and asking me, can you pass? That's really something you can do yourself. And I want you to be able to do that. And if you want to know more detail about that, let me know. But basically, you can just go over, put in a score, and then it'll tell you, you're looking at it based on scores that you've modified. And then when you're done, you can put it in. Actually, I think it will go back normally once you get out of the screen. Okay, so that's about that. The other thing about this Udemy course is that the other reason I really like this is that there's more content that you can consume. There's definitely good stuff left here. Learning how to set up and run tests for your code. Like when we're running and creating code right now, we're testing it to make sure it works the way we would think it would. But there's actually code that you can use to test your code, and then you write it in a different library. But it's It's really good experience to have. Okay. So continue. I mean, Node is a really valuable skill to have in the marketplace, and just continue learning is what I would say. Okay, so the other thing is, I hope, and this is really important, is on this last code up 12, is that I've said you can actually just take what you've set up your develop at one directory structure. And actually that's why I did the learn together here, is to get you started. Then when you're doing the code up for 12, you can actually just code that into your develop at one. Okay, so when you're submitting this, and I will put some notes on here, but just to know is that you still need to do a commit after each lecture, but you can be doing that code to your develop at one directory. Okay, and that just makes it easier. So take advantage of that. Otherwise, you still got to do that work. If you want to do it the other way, you're welcome to do it, but I would just do it. Work smarter, not harder, is what I would say in that case. So the other thing is, and I'll just plug next semester. Next semester I am teaching Node.js in the 18-week online mode. If you're interested, if this wasn't a successful experience, you want to do it again, just know that that's true. We're using the same Udemy course. If you know anybody interested in taking JavaScript, I'm also teaching it in the 18-week mode on the client side. In addition, the new class that I am teaching next semester is React.js. It's a front-end framework. It's a very popular, built by Facebook, used by a lot of developers because of the way it handles the DOM, and it's quick in developing things, and it's very interesting. I started the course that I'm actually going to be using on Udemy, and I'm do the first 3 sections, and it's so fun to learn because if you know JavaScript, learning React is like fun. So anyway, think about that. Next semester, Wednesday nights, 5:30 to 10 at the Bitwise Hive. So ask me any questions that you might have about that. All right, so I think that's all I wanted to say. Probably the last thing I would leave you with, and one of the reasons I really appreciate Hugo doing this, was that, and I added one thing, and I will just show you here, to the last, to the development requirements, was that I do want you to share your Postman collection with me, because it is really helpful when there's an invite up at the top, and then you just use my Gmail, and when I get the notifications, I do what's called forking it, which is basically making a copy. So this worked really well this morning when I set it up. So that was one of the last pieces of information that I needed about that. And then the ability to sign up for the sessions is already out there. I already had a couple of you do that, which is awesome. So if you have any questions about that, let me know. But that's it. And again, I really appreciate your time. I appreciate your attention. I know this was a challenging format. So I look forward to seeing those of you that are hanging in to the end on code reviews this week. Oh, yeah. Okay, most important topic. I can't believe I got out of here almost without talking about it. If you want to submit late work, I talked about that I'm going to take the week 8 up until Thursday, but any work that you have that has not been complete and you want to submit for grading has to be done by 5 o'clock on Thursday. Okay? Way important. Because after that, I'm doing code reviews, and then I've got to submit grades the next day. So make sure you're on that. Make sure you're understanding what you need to do to be in the grade position that you want to be in at the end. And thanks so much for your time, and I look forward to code reviews this week, or seeing you in a future semester, maybe React next semester. All right, peace out.